Yarr, me hearties, I'm Jon Moxley from Cultaholic, and welcome to all these AEW WTF moments for last night's call on Dynamite, a show that was largely bloody good. Four-way tag was good, Cody's promo was good, Jericho, the absolute bastard, stabbing another human being in the eye with a spike, just like the Road Warriors did way back in the day, but nobody mentioned that. Ha! Moxley versus Sammy was good, with Sammy looking particularly very, very good indeed. PAC versus Darby, that was good, with Darby Allin looking like he's not an actual human. DDP defying Mother Nature and the hands of time and all that malarkey. And then we had the tag team match involving the Nightmare Collective, and I'm going to react to that just like the crowd did in the arena last night. WTF! No, I am sorry. If that woman there is meant to be a lifeguard, why the hell is she wearing high-heeled shoes? She knows fine well that if she has to run to somebody's aid, she's going to have to run through sand, and you're not doing that in high heels. Mebs. Now I've got to admit I do not wear high heel shoes all too often myself, but you just know massive heels like them plus sand equals one thing: an appearance on a crappy clip show with an annoying voiceover person and 250 quid in your back pocket. You've been framed. Now this should not be a WTF moment because it happens every single pissing week, but Jim Ross Trent lost his Beretta the second he left WWE. Please stop calling him Beretta, which you did way too much on last night's Dynamite. Don't even call him Trent, no longer Beretta. Do not call him Trent, don't call him Beretta. Just stop saying the word Beretta, man. It just makes you wonder why Jim Ross does this with Trent's name, but he doesn't say, you know, oh, there goes John, don't call him Dean Ambrose Moxley. It's the same thing, isn't it? And speaking of Jim, once again, he didn't get the memo, did he? Where's the flowers, Jim? Where's the flowers? Hang on a second there. The winner of that match there will go on to next week to wrestle to become the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship, will they? And I was left asking one question. Why would the biological son of Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and sexy Spanish god himself, why would Sammy Guevara want that? Unless, of course, we'd see a repeat of Shawn Michaels versus Triple H from Raw way back in 1997, I think it was, for the European Championship, or maybe this entire inner circle shtick involving Sammy Guevara lusting over his biological father Chris Jericho has all been a ruse. I don't know. And next up we have a direct quote from Jim Ross while he was speaking about Dr. Luther. Jim Ross said he has a very disturbing past, ladies and gentlemen. For all long-time fans, you know all about this guy. Then he paused. Do some research. No, Jim, you're the commentator. You do the research. We saw Dr. Luther appear on AEW Call on Dynamite last week. You, Jim Ross, should have been spending the last 7 days of your life doing research about Dr. Luther to tell us fans more things about him. You should be adding more strokes to the pretty bloody picture that is the Nightmare Collective. It's a load of bollocks, isn't it? And bollocks from Jim Ross like that, sassy bollocks at that, isn't helping their cause whatsoever. Just tell us more things to get us invested in the bollocks they're doing. And when Jim Ross said that there, do some research, I was left asking what the hell's gone wrong with Jim Ross? We all know Jim Ross, don't we? The storytelling aspect of professional wrestling commentating, getting us fans invested, the emotion of everything he's calling, that's what set him apart from the rest of the commentators in the professional wrestling world. And it pains me to say this, but this AEW version of Jim Ross is just a stubborn old man who does not sound like he's enjoying what he's doing, and he seems to hold contempt for the fans who still love him. I still love you, Jim. I just want you to be better than that bollocks there. Now, first of all, it's just amazing to me to hear the reaction of the crowd when the Nightmare Collective appeared. The first half hour of last night's Call on Dynamite was absolutely amazing. And then Brandi and etc. appeared and everybody sat on their hands. It's not working, I don't think, lads. Change the... get rid. But the real WTF moment for this point is something that I just found really weird. I don't know why I found it weird, but I just did. So here we are. There he was, blocking Hikaru Shida's way to the ring at the start of the match. Fast forward a few minutes, and there he is sitting down next to Justin Roberts, having a nice little natter, and not in a crazy, psychotic, unnerving way. He was sat there like a bald FMW alumni creepy version of Forrest Gump on the bench. Didn't get it, me. Shades of Jinder Mahal in Saudi Arabia as Big Scary Mel is knocked right off her feet by the gust of wind created by Chris Statlander doing alien things off the middle rope. You shouldn't have gone down, Big Scary Mel. Chris barely touched you. Brandi Rhodes is the legal woman. Brandi Rhodes then gets in the ref's face. Brandi then goes for Statlander. Statlander gets in the ring. Brandi and Big Scary Mel then switch places, and when the referee turns around and sees Mel, he does absolutely nothing. Why? I mean, I do get it, of course, because as we all know, Big Scary Mel and Brandi Rhodes, they do look and sound and wrestle exactly the same, don't they? One thing I was thinking after seeing that there, I just hope that Chris Jericho holds another meeting backstage in AEW very soon, because that bollocks and tag team matches, as we've said a million times on this video series, it needs to stop, doesn't it? And then we're back with Jim once again with a direct quote when he said, and earlier tonight we saw a very impressive victory for Nyla Rose. Then the penny dropped. Ah, that was another show. Then another penny dropped. Ah, you'll see it soon. And I guess Jim just gave us a perfectly good reason to skip a portion of presumably next week's AEW Dark. Thanks very much, Jim. Not really. I mean, that there, it's not as bad as the Lucha Brothers way back in the day, but still, it's pretty bad. Chris Jericho, hold that meeting, please. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was watching that Dark Order segment from last night's call on Dynamite, I found it hard to believe that AEW, they've pulled off the coup of the January transfer window by getting James Earl Jones to be the higher power of the Dark Order. That's the voice of Mufasa, for Christ's sake. What a world we live in, how bloody random. But on a more serious note, it was Raven, wasn't it? That New York twang, it gave the game away. Raven being the higher power of the Dark Order. I like it. And I don't know about you, but I hope the first thing Raven does when he's revealed, presumably, to be the higher power of the Dark Order is instruct 220-pound sexy, svelte, evil Uno to eat everything to do with the Nightmare Collective. They're the same thing, but the Dark Order slightly better, in my humble opinion, especially with Raven at the helm. Unless, of course, they wanted me to stand here and tell you that, and it's all a ruse. Who knows?
That's got to be the best part I've ever seen. So it would seem.
Yeah! Huh? And in this battle of Jim Ross versus names, I simply do not know what to say anymore, because Jim Ross called MJF Michael Jacob Friedman. Michael. And I've said this before in this illustrious video series, but Jim Ross knows he's doing this. He poked fun at himself a few weeks ago, but still, he cannot do anything about it, and it's just really sad. However, man, Jim, do it. I'm rooting for you. Come on. Never has there been a better advert for DDPY than there was with DDP in the ring last night. I mean, for goodness sake, a 63-year-old man with 1,000,000 miles on his proverbial wrestling clock. Not cock. He dove off the top rope to the floor, and that's just astounding, that is. I don't know what else to call it. And then, according to my notes, even though there was a lot of the show still to go, we only have one more WTF moment, with that WTF moment being the presence of a Los Boricuas flag in 2020 at an All Elite Wrestling show. That is really random. But off the top of my head, I'm just thinking we've got to mention that crucifix bomb / coffin bomb, I don't know what they called it, from Darby Allin 2-pack off the top rope. That was amazing. Every single bump Darby took during that match has to be a WTF moment, because it would kill a normal man. And I'm telling you right now, next week's AEW Call on Dynamite is on the Jericho Cruise. Darby Allin, if he wrestles, is getting thrown off the side of that massive pissing cruise ship, isn't he? All the best, Darby. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic. That was all your AEWTF moments for last night's Call on Dynamite. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us